This is Rob Hammersmith from Skidrow, and you are watching Gym Rock Crew. It is 11:15 a.m. Yes. I've lost track. What is the time difference between you and I?
4:15 here, p.m.
Okay, so you're quite a bit farther ahead.
Yeah. So I know things now that you don't know yet.
Yes, I will ask you several important questions after the interview. Things I need to prepare for.
Rob Hammersmith, welcome to Gym Rock Crew. I'm truly so grateful that you took this time out to come here and talk to me.
Well, thank you for having me. This is going to be great.
So you want to get into it?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. What are the physical activities that you enjoy doing the most?
So, as far as what I enjoy doing, my fitness routine and what I enjoy doing are often not the same. For me, I've actually, in recent years, I enjoy running. I would not consider myself to be a long distance runner. I'm not a marathon runner by any means, but I do enjoy running as a pastime. And if you had told me 10 years ago that at some point in my life I would actually enjoy exercising and running, I would have told you that you were crazy. But I think, like most people, as you get older, you become a little bit more aware of how important it is. So I started a handful of years ago. There are so many apps nowadays, or so many free apps, and I started with Couch to 5K, just not because I had any insight or because I had any referrals. It just happened to be the first one that popped up one day, so I went ahead and did it. And that was a few years ago. So now I actually enjoy running, which I never thought I would say.
Love that. So Couch to 5K, is that running?
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
So essentially, it starts from assuming that you've never run, you've never exercised. It will take you step by step through an entire program. And within 5 weeks, the goal is to be prepared to run a 5K.
Love that. I've actually seen you on a bike quite often.
I do. Well, motorcycling is a favorite pastime of mine. I'm not sure if that falls in the physical exercise category. But it is my favorite hobby outside of playing music. Riding motorcycles, I've developed quite a routine for riding and collecting bikes and working on them. There's always something to do as far as repairs and working on bikes. So I now spend more time working on them than I ever thought I would, but I definitely enjoy it.
Nice. I've actually seen you on a cycle with the leather jacket and all.
Yes, that is me. Yes. Yeah, you have to have the uniform. Nice. If you're going to ride the bike, you have to have the uniform, right?
Yeah, you never break character, right? Ever.
Yeah.
So is there any... Me? I actually prefer running over cycling.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about getting on a cycle, my coordination or what, and I just get really freaked out when I'm on a cycle.
Okay. Well, it's best that you know that before you get on, right?
Yeah, running, my feet are on the ground, I have that stability, but you know what I mean?
That's smart.
So is there anything that you, any activity that you hate doing, you absolutely detest?
Well, I used to love working in the yard. I'm an outdoors person, so as much time as I can spend outdoors, you can tell even the interior of our house is decorated to be as outdoors as possible. So I do enjoy being outdoors. I used to absolutely love working in the yard, which seems like a silly thing to say, but I loved it as a form of physical exercise. It would get me outside, a break a sweat, that all the things that you were told when you were younger, the sense of accomplishment, and even if I get up early and work in the yard and get a few things done, if I don't do anything else the rest of the day, I can feel good about myself because I accomplished something. I will tell you, this many years later, I'm over it. I just do not like working in the yard. I would much rather just run or exercise or do something different in terms of physical activity. I do love being outdoors. But right now I'm bitter and angry at yard work, so I won't complain to all your viewers about that.
It's hard work.
It is, and so I joke with people. I don't mind the hard work. and I don't mind everything that goes into it. What I don't like is feeling like I spend a lot of time and I invest a lot of energy and resources into doing it, and the yard still looks terrible. That's what that's my speech about that.
There's no reward, I guess.
Yeah, and there used to be, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I know that's, and I also know that's not very rock and roll to be talking about yard work online, but here I am.
Yeah. So, when you say exercise, like what kinds of exercise are you doing?
So my routine is sort of a hybrid between a CrossFit program, which I did for a handful of years, and I've recently, like a lot of people in the CrossFit world, and it's probably not exclusive to CrossFit, but a couple of years ago, I started to notice that a couple things were taking a couple of different movements, and if you know anything about a CrossFit program, a lot of compound movements and things like that, which is great. But after a period of time, it can take its toll on you, and certainly if you're not doing it with perfect form and perfect technique, which I was not, that was me. So I started noticing a couple of years ago some aches and pains and things that I was managing. So now I do what I would consider to be a hybrid of CrossFit and calisthenics, body weight exercises, cardio, running, things like that. So a little bit less on the weight side of things and a little bit more just moving. I really just I personally feel, for me, my approach to fitness and those types of programs, moderation. It's really, I'm not trying to be extreme with any of them. I just feel like something is better than nothing, and just get started, just move and do those types of things. So for me right now, it's a hybrid of, I would say, low intensity CrossFit and calisthenics and cardio.
Love that. So yeah, you're right. Like CrossFit, there's a very high risk of injury.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
always said that with CrossFit, and I love so much of the science behind it, and certainly the mindset of it, I absolutely love. But I have always felt, if you are either managing any kind of injuries or if you might be on the verge of any kind of injuries, CrossFit will definitely bring it out of you. And I say all that to say I was also guilty of uh, poor technique and poor form and things like that. So a lot of the blame lies within myself. It's not to criticize the CrossFit culture at all. I actually wish that I could do more of it, but here we are.
Yeah. I think it's really cool that you're doing like a hybrid thing, because I find that with like musicians, you need to not just have strength, but also power and agility and all those other components.
I think
So
so.
yeah, so a hybrid program actually attacks all of those different components, which is perfect.
That's great. That's great. So
You're on
it's
the right path then.
I hope so. We'll see. Talk to me in a few years, and I'll let you know.
So was there like this specific, I know you spoke a little bit, but specific turning point in your life where you were like, I need to turn my life around and get like healthier or more fit, anything like that?
I'm sure that there were several hangovers along the way that just kind of remind you that you're not as young as you used to be, and like so many people, I started, I don't know, a handful of years ago. I wouldn't say that there was one particular situation. There wasn't one particular injury or one particular moment. I just, like a lot of people, I think I got to a point where I just felt like I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I felt like I'm trying to do the all things in moderation approach, but I should just feel better than I do. Now, having said all that, I'm not going to lie and say that vanity and those types of things aren't a huge part of it as well. As you get older, it's just the reality. If that's something that is a concern, which for most of us doing what we do, there's a bit of a vanity aspect to it as well. But for me, it just really became obvious that I needed to take better care of myself, and that might have been maybe 10 years ago. I just noticed that I was getting older and I couldn't get away with doing things the way I used to, and then I started paying attention and doing things more not strict, but more conscious of what I was eating and conscious of what I was doing. And once you start to feel better, or you see the results of some of the small changes, it's easy to be inspired to make more changes. And I say all of this, and I'm certainly not a role model. I'm no health and fitness expert. I really, for me, my mindset is to be able to have a little bit of fun with my diet and things like that. It's really just an all things in moderation approach.
It's the best. I was talking to Satchel, Steel Panther, and he was like,
Yeah.
I work out because I want to feel good, but I also don't want to be fat.
Well, it's really. I mean, I think if we're being honest, those are the two things, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, we all want to feel good about ourselves visually, and that means different things to different people, and I'm okay with everybody has their own version of that. So I'm not here to say what's right or wrong for other people. I want to be able to have fun as well. I want to be able to have a night where I can eat whatever I want or do. I'm not going to say whatever I want because I'll get myself in trouble if I say that. But I do want to be able to enjoy those moments, but it just changes as you get older, and the longer we do what we do as musicians and anybody really, as you get older and as you grow in your occupation and your family life and things like that, it's more important to be mindful of those things. But I think he's right. I think those are the two big ones.
Yeah. Right. Now, have you actually ever injured yourself on stage?
That's a good question. I not an injury necessarily. I've definitely had moments on stage, where I could tell I just wasn't there physically, or I wasn't ready, and it could be just as simple as travel. The travel can be brutal at times, and as you know, and anybody who works in this context knows, so much of what we do leading up to a show or a recording session or a rehearsal or whatever it might be, there's so many variables that are beyond your control. So the lobby calls and the travel and flight delays or whatever it might be, or sometimes you're eating out of opportunity, not because it's a smart choice or a healthy choice, but you're eating because this is your chance to eat, and if you don't eat now, you may not have an opportunity later. So with that comes poor choices and things like that. So I wish I had a great story about an injury on stage, but I don't.
When you're preparing for like an extensive tour, do you change your routine a little bit to kind of physically prepare for that?
I don't. That's not to say I shouldn't. I don't. Outside of, depending on what that situation looks like for us as a band, I might spend more time playing drums than I would if I'm not preparing for something like that. So I think by virtue of playing drums, I probably do on a small level, but I really don't. I don't find myself going through a rigorous training program before we leave to play. I and again, maybe I should. I don't know. Yeah, I don't really. I just kind of keep with my routine, and I feel like oftentimes if we're leaving for a tour, or if we have a handful of shows, or if we're getting ready to do something, I often feel like I'm distracted with what I need to do to prepare to leave, obligations and things like that. Yeah, I really don't alter my routine a whole lot.
Cool. So, like with your exercise, like, to me, drumming is like a full body workout, right? It's freaking insane. How do you balance that with exercise so you're not sore or you don't get injured?
Yeah, you know what? I don't think about it a whole lot. I have two separate routines, and when I say routines, they're not calculated. I don't really fixate on the details of it. I do love being active, and I do like exercising, and I do love playing drums, and I just kind of do both of them without thinking a whole lot about the amount of time or the frequency of it. And I feel like I'm able to play drums and do what I need to do because I've been doing it so long. and I feel like exercise definitely helps, but I don't overthink a lot of it. I love watching, and nowadays on social media, on Instagram, you see so many people who are into the science of it, and it's great. And I love watching that, and I love learning. And certainly when it comes to diet, there's so much information out there, and people who have so much information to give. But I don't go too deep into it. I feel like I've just kind of been doing it for so long that what I need to do, I wouldn't say it's easy, but it's not really a struggle for me to get to where I want to be with it physically.
That's cool. Well, don't,
Yeah.
what do they say? Don't fix what isn't broken.
Yeah, and it's I'm not I don't say that to say that there wouldn't be room for improvement, and I think that changes as you get older. But I really just I feel for me, if I start thinking about it too much, it's going to completely take my motivation. And there's a saying, what is the saying I'm looking for? Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. And I feel like a lot of times people feel like if they're not going for the gold medal, and you're not going for a PR, a personal record, or maximum weight or maximum distance, or whatever it is, for whatever reason, a lot of people decide, well, it's not worth doing. And I disagree with that. I feel like for me, as long as I'm moving and I'm doing something, it is worth doing. And I find for myself, if I go too far into the details of it and the numbers and the statistics, it gets to be a little overwhelming.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. So when you're on tour, right? So drumming, like we said, intense workout, right? It's
Mhm.
like constant movements, basically like cardio on steroids, right? How
Right.
do you continue to perform at this high level on tour without burning out?
I so what I have learned in recent years, I sleep needs to be so much higher on my list of priorities. I Like most of us when we're young, and it's okay when you're young and you can get away with it, by all means, because there will come a time where you won't be able to get away with it. But I realized not too long ago, prioritizing sleep is really about the best thing I can do. I I'm not great at it. I often lose sight of being mindful of that. I don't like napping. There's something about it. Anybody who works with us or is in our organization will tell you. It's probably annoying to everybody that travels with me, but I'm just constantly kind of fidgeting and moving around throughout the day. I can't nap, which I probably should. But I have really learned that prioritizing sleep is really about the best thing for somebody like myself. If I just really pay attention and focus on sleep, or at least focus on sleeping more than I have in the past and when I was younger, that makes a huge difference for me.
Yeah, sleep is huge. Like I was talking to Ben Anderson of Nothing More,
Yeah.
and he was like, I think he said he gets like 16 hours. He
Oh
could
my
sleep for
gosh.
16 hours. But yeah, and then Johnny Hawkins as well is like, I sleep like that is the most important like
Yeah.
trigger like for everything in my life. I really need to get that sleep. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
huge.
don't know that I wouldn't know where to begin to start sleeping 16 hours a day. I I'm not saying that I shouldn't. Yeah, I think I have too much nervous energy, and the coffee doesn't help. So I'm a coffee guy. So I probably do some things that don't work in my favor when it comes to sleep. I will tell you, and again, I'm not here to preach. I'm not here to tell people what they should or shouldn't do. I I know my situation in my relationship with drinking and alcohol and doing my job, but I have realized in recent years that it absolutely destroys my sleep. So I have to have very clear lines and very clear limits because I just can't get away with doing what I used to do. And if your job is a priority and you care, then you have to be more mindful of those types of things. I but I'm very impressed that he's sleeping 16 hours a day.
Yeah.
I would
No,
love to do
I
that.
don't think, I think that was a one-off. He's like, I could
Oh, okay.
sleep up to 16 hours.
I see.
Don't,
Okay.
yeah, don't
Okay.
quote me. I think,
Okay.
I think he said there was, he could sleep up to 16 hours.
That's
But
amazing.
so going back to this alcohol thing, I had Davey Rich on here, and he was saying that he's a drum coach as well, and he was
Yes.
like, he has
He's
this ring.
actually a coach of mine. I've actually taken some lessons
He's
from him recently.
awesome.
He's amazing. Yeah. You and I could do an entire show about my thoughts and feelings about what he does. He's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So he has this, what's it called? The ring that monitors your sleep aura.
I'm not sure which one he uses.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
There is a ring. I can forget the name now. But basically, he had like a glass of wine, and then it monitored his sleep. And he was like, I was just shocked at how much alcohol disrupts sleep.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that was like eye opening for him. So it's interesting that you should say that.
Yeah. Don't you think that's is it a component of age as well? Because I feel like when I was younger, I could do whatever I wanted to do, stay out as late as I wanted, and you know, I think we all went through the phase where we were fine by 10 a.m. By mid morning the next day, you were fine. You kind of dust yourself off and you find your shoes, and then you move on with the day. And then I feel like I went through a period of my life where I could either stay out late or I could drink, but I couldn't do both. And now either one of them messes me up for 3 days. Yeah, and I hate this. Yeah. I hate to sound like the old guy in the room, but that's the truth.
Yeah, I think it just takes longer for us to recover as we get older. So it's just that, like, your body is just slower, like, with recovery. And then if you kind of put things that stop that, it's just going to take longer for you to just feel good.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. It's that much longer that I punish myself and feel miserable.
All right. So do you have like a routine before you step on stage?
Yes, but like most things, you'll notice a theme with me. I don't overthink it. I really do benefit from warming up. That's very important to me. I do need to take about 30 minutes before a gig and sit down with a practice pad and get a little bit of blood flowing in my hands. I should do a little bit more in terms of stretching, but I do a little bit of stretching. It's more so really just getting sticks in my hands and getting my hands loose and getting a little bit of blood flowing. I don't overthink it. I don't have a checklist of things that I have to go through. I know a lot of players, and it's amazing to me. I love watching drummers who have a very methodical approach to warming up, and I know players who will tell you that they start this particular exercise at a particular tempo and then they gradually or methodically move through a tempo range and they do different things. And I think part of that too is more of a mental warm up, which is great. It's always fascinating when I see a player who's that engaged. For me, it's really about just sitting down, getting some blood flowing, getting the sticks in my hands. So when I go to the stage, it's familiar. It's not like picking up sticks and having to figure it out. So I don't overthink it, but I absolutely do have to sit down and warm up.
Cool. Do you need to kind of hype yourself up before you start, or do you need to get in calm?
I actually need to calm myself down. As many years as I've been doing this, I still get nervous. I still get jittery. I still get kind of. I mean, nervous is really the best, but in a good way. Most of the time, it's in a good way. I'm actually the opposite. I need to just kind of center myself and that little squirrel brain. Like I said, I have all this nervous energy, so my mind is going a million different directions. So I try to just kind of take a few deep breaths and just kind of pull myself together and focus. So I'm a bit of the opposite.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you've kind of changed your lifestyle over the past few years, right? A little bit more healthier. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Yeah, I don't know if my lifestyle has changed, but my habits certainly have. The limits have definitely changed, and I guess that translates to a lifestyle change.
Yeah. So, like, how do you manage your diet basically when you're on tour? Because I know that is a shit show.
Poorly. Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah, so it's funny. So we'll use a month-long tour as an example, or 3 weeks. I will be the most disciplined eater for, if it's a month-long tour, call it 4 weeks. For 3 weeks, I will be the most disciplined musician. I will be very conscious of what I'm eating. I will I will be paying attention. And then the last week, and it happens like clockwork. It's every single time. It's like the last week, I'm going home next week, so I'm just gonna coast the last week, uh, and I will binge. And then it's all the after show pizzas and the cupcakes in the dressing room, and it's all bets are off. I don't know why I do that. I don't know if it's my reward for being good for the first part of the tour. Uh, I also notice when I'm tired, I have no willpower, and I think that's true with everybody. I I've noticed if I'm tired, my body just wants, you want quick calories, you want all the things that you're not supposed to to eat. I but I also just, I think it's a willpower thing. So as far as managing my diet, it's the first 75% of the tour. I'm awesome. I'm great. And then it's that last little stretch that I just can't seem to keep it together. So
Yeah.
if you have any tips for that, I'd be all ears.
So my tip usually, like, because I'm a fitness coach, and like
Yeah.
for my clients, I say your environment is everything. So
Uh,
you need to not have the cookies around and not have the
Yes.
alcohol around.
Yeah.
But in your case, you're surrounded by that.
That's right.
So
Yeah. I can't punish
it's
everybody else, right? So,
yeah. So that's the issue when you're on tour. And like I have spoken to all these musicians, and they always say, well, it's like a giant obstacle course, like
right.
non-stop, right,
Right.
when they're on tour.
So
So it's just
you've probably experienced this with other musicians, or maybe even experienced this yourself. We will occasionally go through our rider, which is our list of requests for the dressing room, and for hospitality and things like that. And we have these great plans as an organization. So we'll go through it, and all of us collectively, we're all on the same page, and we'll start crossing things off. Nope, we don't need this, and we don't need these, and these are bad, and they're always lying around. So let's get rid of these. So we'll start crossing things off. And I promise you, the first gig we get to that has the new version of the rider and the cookies aren't there, we all start complaining that the cookies aren't there. So you can't win.
and Satchel's like, if he has one cookie, that's it. He's gonna have the whole like
Oh, that's
box,
absolutely true.
and they
Yes.
always put the cookies next to his stuff. And he's like, I'm trying to avoid this shit on tour, and then it's just
Yes.
really really hard because it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
it's
you just
it's absolutely true. It's absolutely true. If you eat one, you're going to eat the entire package, right?
yeah, and then like I actually picked this from James Clear, and he was like, "You've got to make your environment work for you," but I don't see how to make this work on tour. Especially if you're tired and your energy's down, you're just going to pick what's available.
That's
So
exactly it. So I do make an effort uh, to be prepared. So as a drummer, and I think this is true with most musicians, maybe 3 to 4 hours before a show, I can't eat, and I certainly can't eat a proper meal, or a significant meal. So what happens when you come off stage and the adrenaline wears off? Well, now you're starving, right? So what you're going to do is reach for the first thing that's available. So I do try to put a little bit of thought into maybe finding an after show meal that I can have ready, waiting for me before I even get to the pizza. I can have something else there to take the edge off, and that seems to really work for me. The trick is planning ahead and actually getting it done. Sometimes the opportunity to do it isn't there, or whatever. If scheduling might not allow for me to go out and do the preparation, but I have found that that's huge. Uh, and you may know some of the Buck Cherry guys, but I'm going to call out a couple of those guys because we spent a good couple of years touring with those guys, and I love those guys to death. They're great. But myself, Billy, and Francis, their guitar player and drummer, we developed a little bit of a routine where we would look for ice cream after the gig, which I don't recommend. That was our version of an after show meal.
There's some protein in there.
There's a little bit of protein, right? Yeah, so that was one of those habits that I had to just kind of really. But it's also part of the social thing, and it's when you're touring, you like getting out and about and seeing things and engaging with people and certainly hanging out with other musicians. But we realized that we were bonding over ice cream, which is not good. Not good.
Oh, so this is my it's my non-negotiable. When I go on a trip, I have to have ice cream.
You do? Okay. What is
Yeah,
do you have a particular flavor that's non-negotiable?
I like anything chocolate, but chocolate and mint or chocolate and orange, those are like my
Okay.
things on the top. But I went to Italy and I just couldn't control myself. Like
Okay.
just 3 scoops of ice cream like, every day. But there's good news, all right? So if you consistently eat badly like for a long period of time, then you're going to gain like extra fat and stuff.
Yeah.
But if it's like a week, you're safe. As long
Is that the cutoff?
Yeah, I think. Well, it's like you'd have to have weeks and weeks of bad eating to like put on like actual fat. But like if it's just a week or so, I think you'll be fine as long as you get back into your routine when you can.
But isn't that your reward for being disciplined and monitoring those types of things? All things in moderation. It allows you to be able to enjoy them. Some might call it a binge. That's probably not the wrong word for what I do. I might go on a little bit of a sugar binge for a while, but I do that so that I do pay attention and try to keep things in check so I can enjoy myself.
Yeah, totally. So if we're say 70% of the time you're actually eating well, eating right, like it's just if you're eating a little bit off here and there, like it's absolutely not gonna kill your progress or anything like that.
Yeah, well, that's good to know.
You're good.
That's good to know. So I have
Enjoy
your
it.
authorization for 30%
Yes.
of okay.
With your ice cream as well, with bok cherry, I'll authorize that.
Okay.
It's all signed.
So
Jim
if we
Rock
only
approved.
okay, so if we only do it after 30% of the shows, then we're good. Okay, good to know.
Do the math. Okay, do the math.
Okay, good to know.
All right, cool. So, what is your favorite cheat meal or guilty pleasure? Is that ice cream?
Well, not really. Are you familiar with Nutter Butters? The cookies, the peanut butter cookies?
The cookies, I think
Yes.
I saw Doyle eating those, like swiping packets of those.
Yeah, everybody in our group, both the band and the crew, everybody knows if we stop anywhere, the first thing I'm going to do is run in and check to see if they have Nutter Butters. I don't know what it is. There's something about them. You wouldn't think. I don't know if as a kid I just love that they're shaped like big giant peanuts. I don't know what it is about them.
I've never seen them or tried them.
Okay, well, if you ever have the opportunity to try Nutter Butters, please let me know. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but that is my weakness for sure. But I'm very much like Satchel as well. I mean, if you put down anything, chocolate chip cookies or whatever it is, I'm going to try at least 5 or 6 of them. But Nutter Butters are my weakness. I don't know what it is.
Cool. So they're like cookies with nut butter, I'm assuming.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And they are delicious.
Okay, I'm gonna try those when I do a trip there.
Okay.
So is that exclusively in the U.S. or do they?
They're most popular here in the U.S. You can find them outside of the U.S., but they're everywhere here, which is not good for me.
Cool. I will send you a text when I try them.
Okay, please do. Yeah, I'll be curious if that's not going to replace ice cream as your weakness.
Oh, it's a high thing to hit. So you spoke a little bit about alcohol and stuff. Like, what are your rules around alcohol and touring? Do you have any?
I don't. They're not hard, fast rules. Common sense, and I know that's a general answer. I certainly don't get away with what I used to, and that's normal. It's a good thing. I don't have any kind of crazy story for you. I mean, I have some stories about nights that got away from me, like we all do, but there wasn't like one particular moment where I said, okay, this is not right or not good. I just, to go back to what I had said earlier, I just got to a point where I really noticed it was taking its toll on me, and I can't function. I'm sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. So I'm certainly not here to tell other people what I think is right or wrong. I know everybody has a different relationship with it, and it's a pretty serious topic. It's a pretty serious thing that everybody. It's not just musicians. It's not just us, but everybody has a different relationship with alcohol. I know for me that I I know for the most part what I can do to be able to enjoy myself occasionally and have a few drinks, but not let it affect my job. What's interesting about being a musician, without going too much in depth about all the different aspects of what we do, but to a degree, playing music is obviously the job, and that's the job description. But I don't think a lot of people realize how much of the job is personality management. And when I say personality management, that doesn't just include everybody around you. That includes managing your own personality. And when you start taking things like sleep and diet and alcohol and all these things, if you take it to an extreme, whether you realize it or not, it affects your personality. It affects the way you respond to people around you. And as you get older and you screw that up a handful of times and you continue to screw it up occasionally, you become more and more aware of how all of that stuff works. And so I don't have a strict, 2 drink maximum, or I don't have a strict policy. I don't have strict numbers. I just know that cutting back and being more conscious of why if I'm going to leave home and work and play drums, it's great. I love it, but I'm there to do a job, and there's a purpose for me being there. And that's really a long-winded answer to say I don't have a clear I don't have a clear program, or I don't have a clear set of criteria for you.
Yeah.
I've certainly cut back a lot, and it's just necessary, I think.
Yeah. I think as long as the other one in control, it's all good.
I think that's a good way to put it. And as I said, with the personality management thing, I think you just become a better bandmate, and you become a better musician, and that's important. But becoming a better bandmate and just being a more reliable person to be around, or more of a positive person to be around, I think that's equally as important.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so you don't smoke, right?
I'm a former smoker. I'm proud to say it's been many, many, many years since I've smoked, but I still, every once in a while, I don't want to say I miss it, but every once in a while, I feel that little twinge. But yeah, I haven't smoked in so many years, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done.
Yeah.
So I feel like everyone has ADHD these days, right? We're just constantly bombarded by like distractions. Everyone wants our attention and stuff. How do you get yourself to kind of focus or get into like a flow state, if I may, like when you're practicing?
I often don't, just because it's a struggle, just like what you said. I think nowadays our brains are wired, and I don't know what to blame it on, if it's technology, or I'm sure it's all of those things. It's just, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's a struggle for me. In fact, I'm going through a process right now. I'm learning a batch of songs for some recording, and I notice sometimes I sit down and I'm going to write some notes, and I'm going to go through my playlist and spend some time with it. And there are some days, and I don't know what the reason is, there are some days it's like I cannot stay focused and engaged for more than, sometimes it feels like 15 seconds before I'm just all over the place. So I struggle with that, and not to the point where I think there's anything that I can do past just being mindful of it. And that gets into a world of, there's a lot of information about mindfulness and meditation and things like that. And I certainly would not consider myself to be a strict practicing guru by any means, but as I become more and more aware of what's going on and just trying to reel myself in, that's been helpful, but it's a struggle for me for sure. So if you have any tips for me, that would be great.
The only thing that's worked for me is I switch off my notifications, and then like I will control that then, right? So I will decide when I go to Instagram and then check. Otherwise, it's just constant, like it's just nonstop, right?
It's too much. It for me anyway, and then we can get into the whole discussion about how it affects mental health and emotional health and things like that. All of those things are very real. I often wonder, what am I doing? Why am I even looking at this? It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me happy, but I can't stop doing it. And it's I'm being dramatic about it, but you understand how that feels.
You're not, because I think everyone goes through that.
Yeah, it's a really interesting phenomenon, and I have to be careful about social media and things like that. I would say a love-hate relationship with social media, and sometimes it's not even love; it's tolerate-hate relationship with it. But it's there, and it's a necessary component of the way the world works, and some people are great at it too, and I see other people who really understand it and know how to use it, and I'm envious in a lot of ways. I wish I was better about understanding how it all works in relation to my personality, but so much of it is counterintuitive to my personality. It's hard for me to put things out into the world and expect people to take them serious when I barely even take it serious. And I don't mean that in a bad way. There are certain things I do that I love, and I just don't take it serious enough to think that other people care. So for me to make it sound important and to get in the mix and really own the social media thing, I can't find it. I don't know how to do it with my personality. Which is frustrating at times.
It is, yeah. It's a tough place, and there's this love-hate thing. Honestly, I hate social media.
You're very good at it.
It's horrible.
Though. You're very good at it.
I absolutely hate it, and like it's because I'm running two. Well, I would say gym rock crew is a hobby, but like I have a fitness business, and I'm running that as well, and that's social media like for work, and I hate it because I'm an introvert in real life, and it's just being a different person on social media. You know what I mean? Like I'm not the same person on social media that I am in real life, and that just it's a mess.
Yeah.
But
my perspective as an outsider, you seem like you're very good at it. You seem like you have a clear understanding of how it works. If that's any comfort.
So I have cracked it then.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, you have.
I appreciate that. So I listened to your interview. I can't remember who it was, but it was an interview where you talked about fear and insecurity, and especially when you're in that bigger room, and facing that fear is necessary for you to grow. I share that view as well. What advice would you give to someone who is going through that fear and insecurity right now?
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that sounds really cliche, but man, I struggle with it. I struggle with imposter syndrome and all those things. Is that a byproduct of doing something artistic, and are we all to a degree in the music community? I think that's more common than a lot of people realize. We're all trying so hard to accomplish something and do something, and then you immediately put it out into the world, and it's there for judgment, and it's a difficult thing for me to manage. So I really, as far as advice and tips, be aware of that. Don't let that feeling be counterproductive. I've been guilty of that. I can, if I let myself. So this actually ties in to the social media thing, but it's easy to go on, using Instagram as the example. It's easy to go on Instagram and within 30 seconds feel like, man, I'm the worst drummer on the planet. And you're seeing, and it's really cool to see young musicians and young artists doing amazing things. That I support it all day long. I love it. But you have to be very, very careful of how that affects you, and how that affects your self-esteem and your confidence and how you feel about what you're doing. As much time as you spend looking at other people, you have to be mindful of not being too critical and not spend too much time comparing yourself to other people. I I still struggle with that at times. It can be very difficult. It's really kind of this crazy thing about art versus self-esteem and all these weird little things that get tied up into this knot in your head. And I the good thing with art, and maybe I'm going off subject here, but the good thing with art is I really feel like there's room for, in the music world, there's room for everybody. I think, as so, using drums as my frame of reference, I see a lot of drummers and what they're doing on social media, and even people I know in bands. I'll go and see them play, and they're doing these amazing things. And I just kind of convinced myself at one point that I was nowhere near the threshold for being at that level. And then you just have to really just talk yourself off the ledge and remind yourself that you do something that's different and it's unique, and you have your own voice behind the instrument. There are situations that are going to call for what you do and what you do well, and it's challenging sometimes to find those situations, but I've learned to sort of let myself off the hook for some of that. uh, it's hard though. It's really, really hard. uh, it's hard for me to kind of keep that in check when again, the social media thing is a huge part of it. I think it's that's, I don't want to say it's taken its toll on me, but it can be dangerous. It can create this idea in your head that you're not worthy of doing it, and that's just, I don't believe that. I don't buy into that. So I went to see AC/DC this past week in Tampa, Florida, and I'm using them as an example because that catalog of music, what those guys do, it's not really what a lot of young people are doing on Instagram in terms of speed and chops and these things that are going on. But I use that as an example of there's room for all of us. There's room for a band that sounds like this, and then there's room for all the really cool stuff that people are doing on Instagram, and the more progressive music and things like that. I so I don't know if it's advice, but I really think that if you find yourself in that situation where you're really struggling with something like that, just take a step back and just really figure out what your voice is, and try to run with that. And then at some point you just kind of emotionally you reset, and you kind of find it again, and you move forward and hope that it doesn't creep in again. So that's a very long-winded answer. Sorry about that. Yeah.
The journey. Yeah. The thing is that this fear kind of paralyzes people, right? They stop
Yes.
moving forward because of that. So I really enjoyed your interview where you were talking about, like, you viewed it as, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to keep playing. And when opportunity presented itself, you were kind of prepared because you were open to that, right? You were
Sure.
already kind of moving forward. And I guess, like you said, social media wasn't that much of an influence at that time, right? Now
Yeah.
we're just freaking bombarded.
Yeah. It's
Yeah. So
I don't know if I'm alone in feeling this way, but I'm terrified to think of if social media had been as big a part of my life when I was younger and playing and coming up through those years in my musical career, I'm afraid to think if I would even still be doing it, and maybe that doesn't reflect well on me. Maybe that's a sign of insecurity. But I don't know if I would have been able to have been mature enough to have that relationship with it. And I'm still struggling. I don't feel like I have it all figured out. But if you'd have handed me all this stuff 20 years ago, I definitely wouldn't have had it figured out. So I'm afraid to think what that would have been like.
Yeah. What I found is like, because I've had a journey as well with social media, right? And what I found is at the start, I would try to imitate what was working well, and those always tanked, like they always did badly. But
Okay.
when I found things that were like unique to me and I just kept on with that, there was something that just freaking, hit. So it's just that you just have to find your voice, like you said, and be unique and follow that voice instead of kind of letting the noise affect you.
I think
Easy to
so.
say, right?
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. It's all it's accurate. It's very logical, but as you and I discussed, social media is there, and it's almost a necessary evil. I don't want to say it's a necessary evil because there are some massive benefits, and it's a tool, and it's a thing, it's a resource. So I get that, but you have to be able to kind of navigate the pros and the cons of it. Just as you
Yeah,
described.
it's tough. It's tough,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's literally like perspective, right? So
Yeah.
there are people who look at social media like, oh my God, I never had the opportunity to get my music heard across the world.
You're exactly
So
right. Yeah.
there's that, yeah. So it's just kind of focusing on that, I guess, which
Yeah.
help people keep moving forward instead of kind of getting paralyzed and everyone's better than me and I'm the worst freaking musician on the planet because like a 12-year-old is shredding and I can't, you
That's
know.
exactly. Yeah. That's a very difficult thing. But God bless the
Yeah,
12-year-olds that do have a platform and they do have an outlet for. I mean, they have a platform that we didn't have when we were kids, and that's great
right.
for them.
Yeah,
It's great for them. So
yeah, yeah. So that was good
yeah,
talk, good chat.
yeah. That's some heavy stuff.
So yeah, if you could go on a run with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Go on a run with one person, dead or alive. Okay. Wow. Interesting. That's a really good question. Wow. You've stumped me. You've stumped me. So
Sorry.
yeah, no, that I love that. I love that. And I only get one run. It's only one run.
But you can do two.
That doesn't help me. I can't narrow it down to two.
Yeah.
So I Elvis maybe because I just want to see him run. Um, yeah, that's not a great answer, but I want to see what happens to his hair when he runs. Um,
Okay, then. Like, I mean, you're
yeah,
talking about Elvis in his younger years, right?
well, definitely, yeah, definitely, I think so. Uh, yeah, that's a fantastic question. I I'm trying to think of somebody who I'm weirdly fascinated with at the moment, and there's nobody that I'll admit to online. That's a great question. I'm terrible at these lists. When I have to take the entire scope of what I know and pick one, I always freeze. I always panic. So great question.
We'll take Elvis.
Yeah,
So I
why
actually
why
forgot
not?
to ask you this, and I asked this at the start, and I completely forgot. Do you listen to anything when you're exercising, or like any music or podcast or?
Yeah, so I do, and where I work out on a regular basis, I is actually down the street at my neighbor's house. He's great. He's got a great facility, uh, and he's kind enough to host almost daily workouts. I'm down there a handful of times a week. And he is a big fan of like Octane on Sirius XM radio, so I do actually love and listen to a lot of the newer artists and newer bands. So all the things right now from I guess what they call active rock. So like Pretty Reckless. We were just listening to a bunch of their stuff the other day, and I'm trying to think of other examples. Uh, There's a lot of Slipknot going on because that's a really good.
Nice.
If you want to stay motivated, that's a really good one. But they play all kinds of cool stuff, Pantera and all the heavier bands. So as far as exercise playlists, that's really our go-to is something like Octane or Turbo, something like that.
Yeah, I've actually been listening to a lot of skidrow.
Oh, you have?
Really
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
Good. Well, we appreciate
Really
that.
good.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Cool. So anything you want to add? We're done with the question.
Not really. If I come up with a better answer than Elvis, I'll send you I'll send you a message. You really caught me off guard.
Send me a video, so then I'll attach it to this video.
Okay, that's great.
Before it goes out.
Okay. Yeah, you can edit it together and make me sound more intelligent.
They're good, but you just need to have the same lighting and wear the same thing, so then
Gotcha. Okay.
people don't know.
Okay. My
Okay,
secret will be safe.
So Rob, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I love this. So you've got no tour dates announced yet, right?
Not at the moment. No, we are still off the road. For
Okay.
those of you following along, we are still on an active search for a lead vocalist. So yeah, no tour dates to promote at the time, but soon, hopefully.
Okay. Cool. So I'll put your IG handle here and Skidrow's as well.
Great.
You guys, gym rockers, you guys need to listen to Skidrow, especially at the gym. You don't need steroids, all right? Just listen to Skidrow. Rob, thanks again.